moved to the side, and then they were taken with the mercy rule. That happened. Then you move backwards to the game on Saturday, in which they were shut out, which is an illustrious achievement in college baseball, considering that college baseball is an offensive game, and we were told that the team was going to hit the ball. Then you move back to the game on on Friday, and all of that happened this past weekend, and we're going to get to that here in a second. But I think we just got my guy Elijah in. Elijah, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Now, Elijah,
I'm so back.
we're having a little bit of we started. I briefly just touched on the baseball weekend, but we're not going to get there yet because you were actually in. You're in Nashville. You're covering the SEC tournament, and we sort of had a reintroduction to one of the greats. Is that correct?
Oh, that is very correct. It is last morning here. Got everything packed up, and as soon as we go off the air, I'm heading back home. Survived a tornado warning last night. A little scary, but yeah,
that's not fun,
brother.
It was,
brother. I have news for you.
I'm driving back into it today, aren't I? I'm driving right back into it. Going back to back.
I have to say real quick that back home, I have a nephew who lives kind of in the upper part of Illinois, and then we're kind of in the about 50 miles south of Chicago. And literally, family 50 miles south had a severe thunderstorm warning last night. The other ones had a snowstorm warning. That's the bizarreness of the weather.
Wrong jacket weather.
Oh, it is.
Exactly.
Oh, prime wrong jacket weather. So if we're getting anything that what I got here, it's not good, not fun. So there's the morning warning there. But yesterday, you're right, Preston. We got reintroduced, I think, rather, to another great, someone who's not a stranger to winning the SEC tournament. And for Kentucky fans, I'm so curious how they feel watching John Calipari win another SEC title in year 2 at Arkansas. Meanwhile, Kentucky has the most expensive average roster in college basketball. It was wild yesterday. I mean, it's an Arkansas fan base too, man, that is so starved for basketball success. And they got it with Eric Musselman. So it's not like, they're, when I say starved, it's not like they had, they've been in the desert for 40 days and 40 nights with no, food and water. They've definitely had it, but they're basketball crazy. And that was such a pretty big, bold move to get John Calipari from Kentucky. And it's paid off in year 2. And the whole thing about John Calipari is that he gets dudes, right? Like, he is just a master recruiter. And I think Darius Acuff might be the best player he's recruited in maybe a decade. I mean, it's been a long time since he's had someone this good and this much better than almost anybody, they share a floor with. Like, watching yesterday, and when you see it like on the floor and up close, it's really different, right? You see just how fast some of these players are, how like the athleticism pops a little bit more. I'm telling you, Arkansas is incredibly fun. Darius Acuff specifically is incredibly fun. And Preston, if you tell me if you find this to be an accurate assessment, that guy is, to me, Darren Williams 2.0.
Ooh.
I've been workshopping that this week, watching them play. I look at that guy and I'm like, there's a lot of Darren Williams there. Great shot creator, great, and even tough shot maker, really good passer. I mean, he had 11 assists yesterday too. I mean, that might have been the easiest SEC tournament MVP voting I think I've had in a long time. That was a breeze. I mean, I think I got that bad boy wrapped up in like 5 minutes to go in the game, But like there are a lot of Darren Williams in his game that I see, and he is just electrifying, when he's out there on the floor. And he makes such a huge difference when he's playing at the level that he's been playing at the last couple of weeks.
Now, you're talking about illustrious alumni of my Arizona Wildcats, Darren Williams. Is that who you're talking about?
Illinois.
Okay. All right. So you're talking about, okay. All right. So I had to get clear because I thought you were talking about my Arizona Wildcats. Hint.
Yeah, that's right.
Hint, as we move forward in the show, give it a little bit of foreshadowing for what I'm about to be doing with these brackets. But okay, yeah, Darren Williams, Utah Jazz. Okay, yeah, I you know what? It's interesting when you talk about Darius Acuff because you heard his name brought up throughout the year. Cal obviously talked about him, and when Cal says that, hey, I got a guy, it's somebody you probably believe because he's coached a bunch of guys,
Yeah.
and so and he's not one to just give that designation away.
Mhm.
And then you started to see him, and you start to see the way he handles the ball, start to the way he plays with poise throughout the game, and it's like, oh, okay, yeah, this guy can really get things done. He's good enough to take his team wherever they want to go. And obviously the SEC championship is the first stop. But yeah, he is on the level of any of those players that Cal has coached throughout his time.
Oh, for sure. And Cal even said as much over the weekend too. I mean, Sunday he's talking about some of the best point guards he's had. He goes, I've had a lot of them. Cal made sure to let everybody know that he's coached a lot of guys in the NBA, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, he's never been accused of being modest or humble in his bragging, but he does have a lot to brag about.
He does. Yeah. I mean, the guy has made his programs wherever he's at an NBA factory. And that's kind of his whole shtick, right? Is he makes that place wherever he's at, Kentucky, Arkansas, Memphis, even at UMass, developing Marcus Camby into somebody who ended up being, a mainstay in the NBA for a while. He's no stranger to seeing it, but seeing yesterday him talk about Darius Acuff and how much potential he's got, like Cal's seen a lot of this stuff in practices and like through the recruitment process. He's no stranger to seeing what like high-end basketball talent looks like, and it was certainly on display this weekend. And I think that's what just makes a huge difference. Like, is that team, if they don't land Darius Acuff, is that team this good? No, absolutely not. Like that was such a big recruiting get, and he didn't have to go to the portal to get it, right? And that's the one thing I find so fascinating. And whereas Kentucky is trying to, and I don't think there's like wrong ways to do it. There are teams that are really great in college basketball right now that have been built pretty heavily through the transfer portal. Michigan being like a perfect example, right? But you got to get the right dudes in the transfer portal. And then when it comes to Kentucky too, I mean, I thought that's such a fascinating thing for me was sitting there being like, I wonder how Kentucky fans feel watching this right now, because they've had so many of their own struggles. A pal Jason on Twitter says, Big Blue Nation is not prepared for this reality. And then he goes on to say, my wife, in parentheses, Kentucky alumni and passionate basketball fan, is apoplectic about this.
Nice word.
Is setting in by the minute. Yes, incredible word usage. Very nice, Jason. Love it. And he goes, hope my wife's not reading this at the end of this. I'm like, hey, don't worry. It's a secret. This is between you and me. Nobody's reading this right now. It's just us. Just a discussion among friends here. But I think that sentiment is probably shared amongst all Kentucky fans, because they were so happy to shoo him out. They were so ready after some of those early losses. And I get it. Like, and things might have truly run their course there. Again, I'm not here to kind of relitigate whether or not, Kentucky fans should have had a rightful right to run Cal out of town. I mean, in his last couple of years there, they lost to St. Peter's in the first round of the NCAA tournament as a 2 seed. They lost to Oakland in the first round of the tournament as a 3 seed. They got bounced by Kansas State in the second round. Like, it was a while since they made, the second weekend. And this past year, just last year, Mark Pope took them to the Sweet 16 in year 1. And I think they got a guy in charge who is a really good overall basketball coach. However, I do just find it very interesting that in year 2 of John Calipari at Arkansas, after year 1 started off slow, and then they got to the second weekend, that in year 2, they built a team that was good enough all season long and ends up winning an SEC tournament title and finishing 3rd in the regular season, or at least tied for 2nd in the regular season. And he's got the dudes that Kentucky used to be getting, right? If Kentucky fans watch Darius Acuff, they could easily be like, wow, he could have been a Kentucky Wildcat, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that. Their problem is they spent a lot of money on solid basketball players. None of them are great, and none of them maybe necessarily fit what they want to do. But if you watch Darius Acuff yesterday and you're a Kentucky fan, you're like, wow, we could have had a guy who was going to be a top 5 pick in this NBA draft, maybe top 6. It just depends on how, I guess, draft things fall. But Darius Acuff is going to be a top 10 pick regardless. And he certainly put his team on his back yesterday en route to an SEC tournament title.
Yeah, but here's the thing, Elijah. You can say all of that if you're from the Big Blue Nation, if you understand it, if you're from there. But the thing is, does Mark Pope know how to use a Darius Acuff the way Cal does? Does he know how to really take advantage of those skills? It's all hypothetical and it's all theory. The problem is, like you said, they were so sick of him. They were so tired of him. They were so done with just winning all that time and not, winning SEC championships and winning regular season championships, and it wasn't good enough. And then sometimes you say like, maybe we had it good. Maybe we should have been grateful for what we had.
Yeah, that's
one of the things we warn about is the idea of getting tired of winning.
Yes, in certain levels of success, right? And kind of taking like your years with a grain of salt. And also, I've been a big proponent of the NCAA tournament's great. That's what you play for. However, getting yourself in the best position to win, you will get upset sometimes, but getting a team that's in the right position to be really good there is equally as important, and having great regular season success too, also mightily important. And that's going to wrap up our coverage here in Nashville, brought to you by Griffin Pools and Spas. And I've been telling people all week to hit them up on their 50th anniversary sale. That's got $500 discounts on above ground pools, $950 savings on all spa purchases. There's a lot of savings to be had at Griffin Pools and Spas. Even though the weather might not be great today, it will be here soon. So go ahead and hit them up for all of your pool needs. And thanks to them for sponsoring my coverage here this past week. But coming up next, Preston started it. We're going to continue it. We'll get to the fiasco in Gainesville and what that means to this baseball team moving forward next year in the early game.
Wow, what a play. The Game Network. Columbia, Charleston, Florence, and Myrtle Beach.
Everybody loves streaming till you have to pay for it. Just download the 107.5 The Game app and stream us for free. Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet studio. Herndon Chevrolet is your hometown dealer. Stop by today or shop online 24/7 at herndonchevy.com.
Railroad tracks and potholes are a way of life driving in Columbia, South Carolina. The last thing you want to worry about is your tires. At Wetzel's Automotive, we make it simple. From helping you choose the right set to professional installation and alignment, our team handles it all in one stop. Our wide selection of top brand tires means you'll always find the right fit for your vehicle and your budget. Fast, friendly, and right here at home. Visit us at 2017 Augusta Road in West Columbia or online at wetzelsauto.com.
Some things are meant to be together. Perfect pairs. The combos we all know and love. Like beaches and sand in your toes. A good book and the park. Or sleepy mornings and Mickey D's. It's undeniable. My personal favorite pair to help me start the day? The toasty $2.69 sausage McMuffin with egg paired with a $2 any size iced coffee. With 20 grams of protein in one sandwich and bold coffee to power my day, there's no doubt I'd call it the perfect McDonald's match. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. Prices and participation may vary. Cannot be combined with any other offer or combo meal.
There's people that go their whole education without having an African-American teacher. So when I received my lottery-funded life scholarship, I knew I wanted to choose a school that had the Call Me Mr. program. Their mission is to recruit and retain teachers to be those role models for students in underserved areas. And that's what I want to do for my students.
More role models means a better South Carolina. And a better South Carolina means a better you. Visit seeducationlottery.com/betteryou.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group. Did you buy a timeshare because they told you it was a great investment? That's a lie. Most timeshares can be bought online for $1. To find out what your timeshare is worth and to cancel it, call
No accidents to report. Good start to that Monday morning. The weather, it's weird. Let's just be honest. Chance for severe thunderstorms today. Some of that activity coming in a little after 9 o'clock this morning and off and on throughout the day. So just kind of keep your ears to the radio and keep you updated if things change. Then our overnight low is going to be 32, and we potentially have a freeze warning. And then tomorrow's high, much cooler, 52. Overnight low tomorrow night, also about 31. So another freeze warning in place. Right now, it's 67 and 107.5 The Game.
The early game with former Gamecock Preston Thorne, Elijah Campbell, and Jen Jensen on the Game Network, 107.5 Game app, and the Game TV radio on YouTube.
Again, this is a bit. I'm rerunning it. I'm reheating it. I'm rewarming it. But that's not a walk-off. There's only one thing that is a walk-off, and that is a home run. I will get into that a little bit later. But when we talk about this idea of how do you lose a game in several ways, the game Friday night against the Gators was probably the most imaginative way that you could think a team could lose. You carry a no-hitter deep into the game. You don't give up any runs. And then in the end, by way of error, you make an error, you get runners on base, you give up a sac fly, you lose the game, you go home. And that is not indicative, but just another way you see a team that when a team is losing games, they will cultivate the ability to lose more. Just the same way that teams win games, they're able to find ways to win. Well, when you start going down the path of losing, you end up going down that path very frequently. And so the game Friday night was just another sign that this team has not developed the ability to win games. And so as a baseball team, I don't know if it's necessarily the worst way you can lose because they experienced 2 other losses this weekend that gave them worse way. Some would say, would you rather lose by 1 in the extra innings after a potential no-hit bid, or would you rather get mercy? Would you rather get, they call it run rule? Would you rather get mercy rule, 10-run rule to finish off a sweep? I don't know. The problem is we have so many different ways to choose from, and it doesn't look like it's changing. Right, Elijah?
Preston, I think we should have brought back 50 ways to lose a ball game. I know that was a great football bit. We thought, maybe we could retire it until football season again. It might have to be revived right now because this baseball team is finding more creative ways to lose. Preston, on Friday morning, when we talked about the beginning of the series, if I would have told you that Friday night you hold Florida to 1 hit in the game. Mm-hmm. Josh Gunther goes 6 1/3 innings, does not give up a hit. Alex Valentin comes in, negative strikeout to walk ratio, but still does not give up a hit, does not give up a run. Brandon Stone comes in, pitches admirably, only gives up, 2 hits in 2 1/3 innings, but does still walk 3 batters. You're probably thinking, Elijah, I do the tally. You only give up 2 hits in the entire game. You probably win that game until I let you know that South Carolina only got 1 hit and they struck out 15 times. And then it's like, oh no, they didn't do that. Did they? Yeah, they did. losing in extras. Like that, it feels like you're just playing whack-a-mole with some of the problems, while some of with like 3 different moles, right? Like walks, errors, not hitting the ball, like those 3 things. It's just whack-a-mole every single time. But like when you think you got one, another one's popping up, because even in a game like that, you still walked 8 batters. You walked as many as you struck out. You avoided, I guess errors. I guess, the official stat book does not have any errors accounted for. And Florida committed 3 of them. Florida had more errors than hits in game 1 and still found a way to beat you. And then you let it kind of carry over a little bit. You get shut out through the first 2 games of the series. And the first 2 games accounted for 19 innings. And you didn't score a run until Sunday. And then the worst part, Preston Thorne, we're talking about the struggles, hitting. They only scored in 1 inning this entire series. Because then you go to game 3 of this thing yesterday. You have a home run in the 3rd inning to tie it at 3, and then immediately gave up 3 runs in the bottom half of the inning, and then you don't score again. So out of the 25 innings, I guess, that were played, or 26 innings, I guess, played in this series, you only scored in 1 of them. Like you're technically scoring at less than 4% of the innings you have played in an SEC play through 3 games. And this is, of Florida baseball is always going to be good, right? But this Florida team has had some of the same struggles you have in terms of not winning some of those midweeks or those series against mid-major opponents. Again, they got beaten a series last weekend to High Point, and they had to win the last game against High Point 12-11. This is why I always hesitate to say that it can't get worse, because it certainly got worse in Gainesville over the weekend.
And when you talk about the idea of the whack-a-mole, it's one of the things that I always like to bring up, is this idea of that if you have to fix everything on your car, it is a bad car. It's a lemon. It's just, I cannot stress or emphasize that enough. If one time you're fixing the brakes, and then the next time you're fixing the timing belt, and then the next day it's the transmission, that's a bad car.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that something is broke, it's that the car is broke. And you start looking at where we're trying to fix these issues, because as a coach, when you're going into practice, if you feel like you get one thing taken care of, we can maybe allocate some time to something else. But if we allocate this time to something else, and then this over here slips, you'll never actually get everything on balance. And so I don't know, if you were a coach right now and you had to fix something, what would be your top priority right now?
Oh,
if you could slide that meter, if we were doing like simulation on video games, what would you slide the meter for on this team?
Hitting. Yeah. I think you've at least seen it from pitching at times. Now, like Riley Goodman didn't make it out of the first inning yesterday, and you're gonna need that guy to get you out of the at least 3 or 4 innings into games on the weekends. Like you're still figuring out the pitching rotation on weekends, but you like Gunther a lot. I think you can see some things in Amp Phillips, even though too many walks on Saturday. So the whole walk number is one that can drive you crazy. But just putting the bat on the ball, man. I mean, what? Struck out how many times? 24 times in this series?
Come on, man.
Put the bat on the ball. Florida in the first game too committed 3 errors. And that's the one thing that about Florida this year that they haven't done particularly well, like they have done in the past, was field, right? Like they're usually top in the country in fielding percentage. They're not this year. That's where they're particularly vulnerable, and you couldn't just get the bat on the ball. I know the pitching staff's good. No, Liam Peterson is a dog, but you've got to be able to put the bat on the ball, and they just didn't do that. And that's going to give you a 0% chance to win. You can pitch a great staff. You can have a great staff game where you pitch incredibly well and you only give up 1 or 2 runs. But if you're not scoring any, then it's a total non-starter.
Yeah, and the idea, like you said, you went scoreless throughout the series except for 1 inning, and that stretched back to the Citadel game. From the 5th inning of that game on, they didn't score. So it's not just SEC pitching, as somebody might try and say. It's not just lefties. It's not just at home. It's not just it's everywhere. And that is an issue when you're not able to consistently make contact. We have to give them like Little League advice. Choke up on the bat.
Yeah. Move up in the box.
Move up in the box. Take one for the team. Do something. Because that is there's no way you can win with that offensive output.
Oh, man, we have plenty to get to in terms of reaction. Ray is on the phone. Ray, we'll get to you on the other side, and we'll hear from Paul Maneri about the weekend that was in Gainesville, too, coming up next here on the early game.
All my sports. The Game Network. 107.5 The Game in Columbia. 96.9 The Game in Charleston. 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach. And 100.5 The Game in Florence.
This hour of in-show listening on
Press in for our friends at Absolute Glass, the premier glass company of the Midlands, offering auto, home, and business glass repair. If your glass is damaged, shattered, cracked, or broken, they can handle the job. If it's a cracked windshield, that's no problem. They'll come out to your location and they'll replace it for you, usually for free, and they'll work directly with the insurance to take away the headache. That's right. They'll come out to wherever you are, school, home, work. It does not matter. Absolute Glass will come out to you and take care of the job for you. Now, if you're at home, you're looking to increase the value of your home, Absolute Glass will come out and take care of that for you too. Windows, mirrors, shower enclosures. Say it all the time. If you can see through it, Ray and Marianne at Absolute Glass can do it. So check them out online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com. That's online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com.
Traffic Center. Broken down and need a tow, or even free signage for your lot? Dial pound 250 and use keyword tow truck today.
No accidents to report at this time, and let's just hope it stays that way because the weather is going to get interesting for today. We're looking for some storms that should be rolling in a little after 9 o'clock this morning. The main storm activity between 9 and 3 today, some potentially heavy. Lots of heavy winds will continue into this evening as well. It's going to bring in a cold front for sure, and we're looking for a high today of about 67, then overnight low of about 32, and a potential freeze warning. And then tomorrow, high of 52. So a couple cooler days ahead outside of this storm front. Right now, though, we are sitting at 67 on 107.5 The Game.
The Early Game. Yes! With former Gamecocks Preston Thorne, Elijah Campbell, and Jen Jensen. On the Game Network, 107.5 Game app, and the Game TV radio on YouTube.
After the weekend that was in Gainesville, there is a lot of reaction to get to. Of course, we have plenty on the Firehouse text line. And we also have a call. Our man Ray has decided to call in on the AAA Heating and Air phone lines. Our first call of the week. Good morning, Ray. Welcome to the Early Game, my friend.
Good morning. Good morning. Happy Monday morning. I tell you, first of all, I got to give it to Don Staley and the Gamecocks because they are the real Gamecocks. Let's not fool ourselves. Another number one seed. I know they didn't finish things in Greenville where they wanted to, but I still think if they get it together and they play their game, they're capable of winning this whole thing.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
I truly believe that. Well, I didn't feel like that last year. I do feel like if they get it going, they can win it. I really believe that. So now, Tater's called going to be like an old Italian Western, the good, bad, and the ugly, spaghetti Western. But anyway, do you guys think that one Nick Pringle is regretting his move?
I can confirm to you, Ray, this is a Big J journalism reporting. He did look very happy yesterday.
I will tell you, and I'm really happy for him because there are things in life, and we all do this. We take stock in our lives, and we always look back on, the decisions we made that were great, and we look back on decisions we made that we regret or whatever. I'm telling you, throughout Nick Pringle's life, this is one decision he's going to look back with a smile on his face, and I'm happy for him for that. But anyway, so I was just looking on some sites. Of course, Coach Paris, wish him all the best, but of course he's on the hot seat, and even Bieber, he's top 5 of the hot seat. And when it comes to Maneri, he's so far on the hot seat, guys. To be quite frank, I don't know if he makes it to April. I think next weekend goes really sour, and maybe Donati's already thinking this. I almost think it's going to get to the point, the pressure with the fan base and all that. I think he's going to almost have to pull the plug. That's just my take, but we'll see what happens. But Elijah, what was our? And I know you probably know this, but maybe not. Don't want to give it because you're a human and you have a heart like all of us do. But what was our combined batting average in Gainesville? And I'll take it on the other side. Thanks like that.
Oh man, I will do that math here during the break. Because I have not seen anything. I've not seen anybody else do the math, but I have a hypothesis, and the hypothesis is it is not good. How about that?
Below, let's go above or below 100.
Above or I'm going to say maybe slightly above.
Sure.
Oh,
I don't know.
Oh man, I don't know. I'm looking at it right now. They were 7 for 31 yesterday.
Okay.
Which, I mean, it helps you out a little bit. The previous game, you were 3 for 31. Yikes. And then, good math live on radio. And then you were, 1 for 33.
Oh, no,
before
man.
that. Okay. Yeah. I think this is not very good. Either way. I mean, without even getting the specifics of what, the specific batting average is, those are damning numbers. And when it goes to Ray's point of making a change mid-season, if it keeps getting bad, like that discussion's only going to get louder and louder and louder and louder. And eventually it's going to get to a point where it's already affecting attendance. I don't want to know what it's like how it affects attendance later on in the season, because you have Charlotte at home this week. Then you have a 3-game series at home against Arkansas. We know what Arkansas is. I don't want to. Yeah, I mean, we're on track. We've been on track for it to be not good. It can be on track for it to be so much worse than last year. And last year we thought was the worst it can get. I think the batting average is 115.
Oh, so close. Well, looking at what the batting average is, obviously the offensive struggles. We have this clip, and let's hear from Paul. This is clip number 4, Jen. This is where he talks about what they will continue to do on offense.
No, John, I'm never going to give up. I mean, we're just going to keep trying, different things. There's some guys that have been waiting for a good turn, and they might have to get it pretty soon here, but I was going to give it this weekend with the majority of the guys that we've been using and see what happens. So far it hasn't been very successful, but tomorrow's a new day. Hopefully we can get one out of here. It's a big difference between, getting 1 and getting 0. So we're going to, get a good night's sleep and get fired up and come out tomorrow and hopefully do a little bit more offensively.
That was from Saturday, and they did get some, but then they forgot the pitching on Sunday. So
whack-a-mole.
Yeah.
Whack-a-mole. I mean, that's kind of where they're at this season. I mean, if it's not one thing, it is another. I know last night, one battle after another, one Best Picture, great film. That also seems like a title very apropos for the baseball team the last 2 years. It's just one battle after another, and it seemingly does not end. And look, I mean, 115 in your first series in SEC play. I'm telling you, the attendance is going to be even more so severely affected. We have one texter on the Firehouse Subs text line who does agree with Ray when it comes to a midseason change. And then another texter on the Firehouse text line thinks more like I do and goes, $14 a beer, I'm definitely not going to a game.
Well, yeah, there's that also.
We'll have to watch for the specials because they had been running some concession specials.
Yes, which is very smart. I do like.
Yeah,
that.
they're gonna need to take a note from our pals up the road at Coastal and maybe do their free concessions and get folks in the stands, because it's not gonna be the winning. And the idea that is a 115, but Elijah, that's not surprising. We can't act like this team has been knocking the cover off the ball all season.
No.
So you know what I'm saying. So we can be apoplectic, to use the word from earlier. We can be that, or we can be looking at them as we might be starting to give out these Denny Green awards. And they might just be who they've been, not who we thought they were, because it doesn't matter who we thought they were. Their statistics have proven them to be a team that does not hit very well.
Yeah, I mean, even if you go back and look at the other high major series that you've played this year in the Clemson series, the last 2 games you combined for 3 runs. It's 3 runs in 18 innings. And then before that, in the one win you got against Clemson, you were able to get, 7 runs on the board, but it was kind of aided by a lot of errors, from Clemson's part. And I mean, 2 big errors to be accurate there, but you only got 4 hits. You got 7 runs on 4 hits, which tells you that you didn't hit the ball as well as the score may indicate. So if we use that context, then just the 3 runs in the last 2 games, and then we saw 3 runs in the entire series against Florida with 2 shutouts, and scoring in only 1 inning, the larger sample size proves that you have a real hitting problem on your hands. And unless you pitch the lights out, it is going to be really hard for wins to come by. Like that's the one thing this team really needs to absolutely turn around, or else if we are going to have a repeat of last year, maybe even worse. Like the hitting has absolutely, that's why I think I choose that, as if there's one, mole that I'm going to hit on this board, at least get that one hit and have it stay down for as long as humanly possible. But coming up next, though, our pal Ray did mention the draw that South Carolina got and his enthusiasm for the women's basketball team in the NCAA tournament. The bracket was unveiled yesterday. We will read through their region and take a look at if there are any roadblocks going into their path to the Final Four. We'll do that next here in the early game.
Former Gamecock Preston Thorne, Elijah Campbell, and Jen Jensen on the Game Network, 107.5 Game app, and at the Game TV radio on YouTube.
The bracket has been unveiled. Selection Sunday was yesterday, and Dawn Staley and the South Carolina Gamecocks now know exactly who they are going to have to face or potentially face en route to another Final Four this year in Phoenix. And Preston, it's an interesting draw in terms of who's going to be playing here in Columbia. South Carolina is still, TBD when it comes to who they are going to play. And it looks like they'll play the winner of Southern and Samford, not Stanford, Samford, the Fighting Cortland Finnegans. And then the winner of Clemson and Southern Cal,
Let's go.
Two teams that we have seen already this year, would be the second round matchup. Now, I really need to ask a couple of the lifers here in the media corps whether or not South Carolina and Clemson have ever played in an NCAA tournament, men or women. I don't think so, but that possibility certainly exists this season.
Elijah, I'm looking at this bracket, and the story is laid out. We have a perfect bracket for narratives. Maybe not for basketball, but for narratives. Because in the first round, we get to beat Clemson, get our arch rivals out of here, and then guess who we play in the second round, Elijah?
Oh, you looking at Oklahoma?
Yep. We got some unfinished business with Oklahoma. And then once we beat Oklahoma, if chalk holds, guess who's next?
If chalk holds, your Elite Eight game would be against Iowa.
We got to finish that. We did finish that, but they have some. We still have a memory, and I can see that game now. We have all of the freshies in the stands. You bring them all back. They stand courtside. They're barking at Iowa. Maybe Caitlin Clark's in the stands. All of those folks are there. We get rid of them. And then once we get rid of Iowa, Elijah, who's after that?
If chalk holds. And I expect it to certainly hold in a lot of this bracket. You'd be getting UConn.
Don't we need to take care of something from them?
Yeah, I think there's a lick back that needs to happen. I remember last year.
And then Elijah, what I'm hoping for now's where we need chalk not to hold. This is where we need to move a little bit around a little bit. This is my story. And then final championship game, Texas.
Assuming they maybe get an upset of UCLA. Well, upset in air quotes. It's not like it'd be a massive upset or anything. I think they're pretty evenly matched. This is a perfectly aligned narrative bracket for sure. And you get to avenge losses, avenge history, maybe beat a rival in the second round. Or if you don't beat a rival, you'll beat the other USC, who you've already beaten once this year.
That's a good one. That's a good one too.
And you'll see them next year too. Right? I mean, because you got the home and home. You played in LA this year. You'll play in Greenville next year. It's a story in the second round either way, right? Either way, you're going to get a story in the second round of this thing. And I'm really hoping Oklahoma beats Michigan State or Colorado State. Maybe Colorado State beats them. I don't know. But I'm really hoping it's Oklahoma UC because, I think you play them again, you're going to beat them. The comfy confines of Norman, Oklahoma can't save them any longer. So there's a lot there. And I will say, even if you don't get Iowa, you get TCU. TCU actually is the one I don't want to face. I think I'd rather see Iowa.
Oh, yeah. Elijah, this was nothing about basketball. I'm just going strictly narratives here.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, strictly narratives, you would much rather see Iowa. Much rather. I even think in a basketball sense, I'd much rather see Iowa too.
There you go.
Not as tough of a matchup. And if we do get Iowa in the Elite Eight, not only do we have everything that we just laid out, but South Carolina will have to face Jan Jensen to get to a Final Four.
Look at that. Perfect for the show. And then the narratives keep lining up for us to have an exciting show. And so aside from me being silly with the narratives, there is a straight basketball path. And obviously, I guess UConn is sort of the final boss as it lays now. But, you got to play the games to get there to that point.
Oh, certainly. Yeah. I mean, we even saw last year how hard it can be if you're not playing your best, especially on offense. So things can be a little clunky. And I think anybody who thinks back to all the way to last year, you remember, the Maryland game in which Mylasia Fulwiley had to take over to win it. The Duke game in which you had to win a game in the 50s, that one that was not going to win any Oscars for best offensive performance. Maybe for best defensive performance, but it was not going to win for best offensive performance. And you had to have Chloe Kitts kind of save you down the stretch in that game. If you're not clicking on all cylinders on offense, it can be really tough to even get to the Final Four. And I think this team definitely has that. I think the Texas game and the SEC tournament title was not indicative of how good this team has been on offense this year. And I'm kind of like Ray in the sense where I feel a little bit better, more confident about the offensive prowess that this team has and this team has shown this year compared to last year in terms of what their ceiling has been and the extra level the offense can get to. I have a feeling this year might have a higher ceiling offensively than last year, to where you don't have that type of rut.
I agree with that because last year's team could get stuck in the mud a little bit.
Yeah, it had a weird tendency to do that. I just don't think this one does as much. I think they just shoot a lot better around the basket. They convert a lot more of their better chances. But that's certainly something to watch. There are narratives galore. But coming up next, though, to kick off hour number 2, we'll look at the men's bracket. Now, unfortunately, no South Carolina, but plenty of intrigue, especially when it comes to Preston and his team crush. We'll see how far Preston has his team crush going and look at the entire bracket coming up next here in the early game.
Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet studio. Herndon Chevrolet is your hometown dealer. Stop by today or shop online 24/7 at herndonchevy.com.
They call it wrong jacket weather for a reason because however you leave the house, you got the wrong jacket. And matter of fact, the same applies to your HVAC. Is it heat today, air conditioning tomorrow? You don't know. So you need to make sure you have a dependable HVAC system. And that's why we want to introduce you to the folks at AAA Heating and Air. Right now, AAA Heating and Air is offering guaranteed financing to qualified organizations, and they make it easier to upgrade or replace your light commercial HVAC system without upfront costs. That means no payments and no interest for 12 months. It gives you time to plan, budget, and breathe easy while your new system is working. Oh, and did I forget to tell you, there's a 15-year parts and labor guarantee. That's 15 years. So call the folks at AAA Heating and Air. They specialize in helping churches, small businesses, and light commercial spaces. Getting started is easy. Just call AAA Heating and Air for a quote or visit callAAAtoday.com.
Sponsored by SC Education Lottery. The South Carolina Education Lottery encourages all of their players to learn about your play before you pay. To learn how the odds work, common lottery myths, and the signs of problem gambling, check out sceducationlottery.com/betteryou. Playing the lottery for fun is a win for education.
BOGO is back at iMart Express.
Okay.
Right now, for a limited time only, new customers can buy their first pair of glasses and get a second pair free. Plus, with eye exams available and same-day glasses, you'll never miss a moment. It's the kind of savings and service you can really get used to.
Okay.
Find a location near you at imartexpress.com to shop our BOGO event today and see everything we have in store for you. iMart Express. Get glasses. Go see.
Do you have sagging, soft, or bouncy floors in your home? Well, this could be a sign of rotten wood caused by moisture in your crawl space. Damaged wood in your crawl space can affect your home's foundation, and that can affect your home's value, and nobody wants that. Say goodbye to sagging floors and hello to a stable foundation. Contact Canty today for your free inspection at 803-424-8380 or visit cantycanfixit.com.
Hey guys, West property parking lots are kept available from any unwanted cars taking up your spots with Schroeder's Towing. For instance, you're coming in hot to the game studios for your show and you park next door in an unauthorized lot with signage that was provided for free from Schroeder's Towing. Next thing you know, the show is in the books and your car is out of the lot. It really is that simple. That's a true story. Call Schroeder's today and keep those unwanted cars out of your lots. Online at schroederstowing.net.
Just dial pound 250 and use the keyword tow truck.
Schroeder's Towing, the best and fastest bookers in town.
I knew that no one ever received a bill from St. Jude, but I in no way understood how completely they take care of their patients and their families.
Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
It's the Game Network Traffic Report from the Schroeder's Towing Traffic Center. Broken down and need a tow or even free signage for your lot. Dial pound 250 and use keyword tow truck today.
No accidents to report right now. Great news in that respect. But as far as your forecast goes, yep, some heavy storms possible today. Really between about 9 and 3, and then we'll kind of keep some wind for this evening. And looking for high today of 71. Tomorrow going to be cloudy and 52, but we could be under a freeze watch overnight tonight and overnight into Wednesday. So tomorrow's high is 52, 54 on Wednesday. Right now it's 67.
For the Gamecocks. 107.5 The Game. WNKT Cumulus Media Station. The Early Game. With former Gamecock Preston Thorne, Elijah Campbell, and Jen Jensen on the Game Network, 107.5 Game app, and the Game TV radio on YouTube.
Hour number 2 of the early game starts right now. I'm Elijah Campbell, live in Nashville. Before I head back home here in this lovely weather that we're about to get back home, Preston Thorne, Jen Jensen, the gang is all here. And tomorrow we'll finally be reunited. And we have a lot to talk about here in hour number 2. We're talking Selection Sunday results, our reaction. Coming up next, though, in the morning meeting, Preston is going to tell us what is and is not a walk-off. We will have a term lesson here for the early game morning meeting, bracket filling philosophy, and I'm, of course, going to quiz Preston because there are so many newer teams here in the NCAA tournament that we're going to see how many of those team nicknames Preston can name. A whole lot to get to. And, of course, you want to weigh in, give us a call on our AAA Heating and Air phone lines or a text on the Firehouse Subs text line at 803-404-6100. And Preston Thorne, Selection Sunday is kind of like my Super Bowl. It is my absolute favorite thing. Men's and women's, getting to see just brackets being unveiled. And yesterday, I love watching it and trying to see if I can, try to fill out the bracket mentally in my mind in real time. This year, I felt like it was harder than normal to just be able to watch the TV and just say, okay, that's going to happen. That's going to happen. That's going to happen. I feel like it gets harder and harder to predict this thing, even a year after we had all 4 1 seeds getting into the Final Four.
Now you feel like it gets harder and harder to predict individual matchups or to predict a champion?
I think individual matchups. I've had my champion kind of decided in my head for about a week. The team that I was kind of leaning towards. There's really really only 3 options. I think in this thing you're probably safest picking one of the 3 between Duke, Arizona, and Michigan. I don't think you can go wrong with any of those 3. And every year I try to kind of identify a team that is going to be a sleeper that makes the Final Four that nobody expects. It's kind of like a team crush of sorts. And I'm kind of there right now where I'm going to have that team in the Final Four. And spoiler alert, I think it might come at the behest of Preston Thorne's basketball team crush. Yeah. And that's Wisconsin. My team crush has been Wisconsin. I am so enamored with the Badgers. And I think, and every year too, last year kind of being more of an exception. We'll talk in the third hour about the idea of chalk and whether or not we're kind of getting to a point in college basketball where it's going to start getting chalkier, because last year, for the second time in the history of this thing, we had all 4 1 seeds in the Final Four. Is that a trend that is going to continue to happen and become more of a regularity, or do things kind of fall back to the natural cycle or natural, element of the tournament being a lot of randomness? And I'm going to lean on randomness, I guess, for one more year, but we'll get into more of that later. But Preston, I've said it for about a couple of weeks that if I'm a 1 seed, I don't want to see Wisconsin in my bracket. I don't. And unfortunately, that's the draw Arizona got.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that's taking your expert opinion. I don't love that synopsis of how that works. But that being said, when you look at all of the teams, now a couple of questions. First off, do you fill out a bracket immediately?
I usually fill one out the night of, but I always leave it for air. I don't put it on paper until Monday night. Usually I give it 24 hours to simmer. I'm a 1 bracket guy. I give it, one night to simmer and make my final adjustments. I've got one more thing. I feel good about almost everything that I have, but there's just one more thing I need to sleep on one more time before I feel confident. And once I put it on paper, it's done. It's over. No more edits. That's what I'm turning into the teacher at the end of the class period.
Now you also said put it on paper.
Oh, you have to still put it on paper.
Okay.
To me, like that's the fun part. It doesn't have the same feel when you do it digitally, like when you're filling it out on your phone. To me, it doesn't have the same feel. It's fun because the phone and the computers do a lot better job of keeping up with your pool, but I am so nostalgic for the days when I was a kid. My dad would print off, 3 different brackets for me and my siblings and we would fill them out on the kitchen table and
Solid.
argue about who's going to win. I still love that. Still very nostalgic for it. But there's a reason that, I still print them out every year. I print out 2. I print out one that I fill out and then one as the bracket goes along. Nerd alert. What I love to do is have a blank one. And after every single game that I'm watching, I will take my pen out and I will write the name in.
I just hear you pull it out. I hear you pull out your pen, just click, click, click.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've been doing that since I was about 9 years old. that is an every year thing for your boy.
Well, Elijah, you would have loved my 9th grade world geography course because every year it was an annual assignment that when the brackets were announced, I would bring the brackets to class.
Oh, yes.
Okay. Are you with me? And because this was world geography, what we would have to do in class is we would have to fill out geographically correct brackets, meaning we would have to put the schools in the proper brackets of whether they were east, west, south, or whatever the case was. And so we would have to, obviously, we'd have to research where schools was because who knows where High Point is or who knows where Queens is. So we'd have to find the schools, place them on a map, make it geographically correct. I believe you probably would have loved that assignment.
Oh, I would have eaten it up. I would have learned so much more about geography because that would be the most engaged you would ever have me as a student. Single-handedly.
It was the most engaged I was as a teacher. I loved it every year. I already knew this was a week that this was the assignment that was happening. But if we look at the brackets really quickly, Elijah, yes, Team Crush, Arizona. My guys, we are Big 12 champions. That still feels weird to say that, but
it's disgusting.
But it's real. That being said, we're gonna have to put the Sand Sharks out of business. What are they? The Sand Sharks, the Sand. Who these guys?
Ooh, see, I can't reveal that because that's going to be part of the quiz later.
I
will say though,
I do know. I do remember Fins Up. It's going to be Fins Down. I will say that.
It's going to be. Is there a hand sign for Fins Down instead of I guess clapping them at the top of your head? Do you do it just like more like at the at your waist? I guess Fins Down. Doesn't have the same ring to it.
I will also say, I know you watched a lot of basketball this weekend, and I watched a decent amount too. It did something for my soul to see Cal and Patino winning. Those dudes, man. Patino is in the very distinct category of, I think, a scoundrel. I think is the best word I could use to describe him. Where obviously there are some questionable past, very much questionable past, but we still kind of like the guy, man. It's like despite himself, it's like I kind of like this dude.
They're characters, man, and that's what thrives in college sports. Sometimes the characters. I think basketball maybe more so than football because like college football coaches, I feel like are a little more measured in how they talk after games. You have a couple that are really good personalities, but in basketball, I feel like the personalities of the coaches are a little more in your face. They're a little more, I guess, authentic to who they are as people. Like, dude, I was sitting in the press conference room in Nashville earlier, this past weekend, and this is after Saturday's game, right after Arkansas survives Ole Miss's comeback attempt. And John Calipari's sitting there and he's talking about something completely unrelated. And then all of a sudden he goes, Bam Adebayo had 83 points in a basketball game this week. 83 points. And then goes off, talks about it. And then after like another 30 seconds, he goes, how did we get on that again? It's like, John, there is no we here. You have a mouse in your pocket. Like, it's just you, dog. You're the one who brought it up.
Oh, yeah. And where did Bam Adebayo go to school? Oh, yeah. Forget about that. Interesting.
Yeah.
Wonder why he was so locked into that.
Oh, trust me. He made sure to go. I've had plenty of guys score 50. Yeah, I think he goes, I had 7 guys score 50 in the NBA, in the NBA game. And then yesterday, too, it was classic, like, grumpy Cal. He hasn't even seen a bracket yet. And he was already complaining about it. He goes, they'll probably have us play on Wednesday. Like, no, you're not playing in the play-in, buddy. I think you're going to avoid that.
Contrast that with the clip I saw of Rick Pitino in the press conference sneaking a beer as he was sitting there. He just takes a sip and then he puts it by the side like he's at a family function or something, and nobody knows he's supposed to be He had like a solo cup. It's like,
we've all been there.
it's like, look at you, Rick. And again, man, like I said, he just falls in the category of scoundrel because, listen, man, he's done some things unquestionably morally decrepit in a lot of ways. But then you look at him, it's like, hey, man, I don't know. I kind of like this guy.
Hard to cheer against him. I don't know what it is. How many people can get away with just being like genuinely bad people, and you still find yourself being like, you know what? He is so sharp. Like he dresses so sharp.
It's a magic trick, a balancing act that only very few. Because I mean, you put him against like not Patino, but you put him against Bobby Petrino. It's like, get that dude out of here, right? We don't like that dude at all. You know what I'm saying? And they have similar offenses. But it's Patino is like, kind of like this guy, man. I don't know what to say.
Very few people where their baggage, as big as it may be, still doesn't keep you from being really interested in their teams. Like there are some coaches, like Bobby Petrino is a perfect example of hate watching a team because of their coach, because of a lot of that baggage. Somehow Rick Pitino dodges it, but that's how he still gets jobs, right? You got to be a little bit of a schmoozer, and he's got to be the best schmoozer in the room. He wins everywhere.
On the Twitter machine, there was a clip had resurfaced with Rick Pitino when he's giving his team a halftime speech, and he's talking about, you're going to have to deal with adversity throughout your life, and he's going on, and it's a tremendous speech. And somebody quote tweets it, and they're like, "This is the type of dude that I want to raise my sons." And I'm like, I don't know about that, man.
Time out. Can we take a 30-second here?
It's a great speech. I don't know if we want to go that far, but he's a great coach.
Just because the message is great does not mean we have to overly praise the messenger here.
But as he was giving the speech, I'm like, that's right. Adversity will come and you will have to deal with it, despite maybe you bring it upon yourself, Mr. Pitino, but that's okay.
So much of his has been brought upon himself. So much of it. But still, I mean, in his team right now, I mean, look, 2 straight years. He has gotten St. John's to win the regular season and the conference tournament in the Big East. 2 straight seasons. He's got them clicking now. Tough first round draw. I mean, Northern Iowa lost 12 games in the regular season this year, but I'm old enough to remember watching Northern Iowa knock off Kansas. Now, clearly, completely different teams, but that is a program that has been to this thing a whole lot. Shout out Steve Fink, Northern Iowa, great. But he's got an interesting draw. But here's the thing, too. In terms of coaching personalities, Preston, if you look at the East bracket, of course, John Shire at Duke is number 1, and he's kind of one of the best young head coaches in college basketball because of just how much he has won in the 4 years that he's had that job. But you have St. John's, the 5 seed with Rick Pitino, Kansas, the 4 seed with Bill Self,
and the Darren Peterson thing hanging out there.
Yep, which is a whole other storyline too. Michigan State and Tom Izzo at the 3 seed, Danny Hurley and UConn at the 2, and then if you want to get even weirder, UCLA and Mick Cronin's at the 7.
Yeah, those are a bunch of dudes. That press conference, the Easter press conferences will be fun.
The press conferences are going to be great. The jabs are going to be great. Mick Cronin's going to absolutely complain the entire time. I think it's hilarious. They sent, Mick Cronin to the East because he's done nothing but complain about airfare and travel all season long. We're probably going to get vintage whiny Mick Cronin for this tournament. And for that, I think we can all be grateful. I think the basketball gods have punished him for his complaints. Coming up next, though, it is the early game morning meeting. We're going to have a little bit of a vocabulary lesson because what happened on Friday was considered a walk-off by Florida. Preston Thorne will have the floor to tell us what is and is not a walk-off, and we'll argue semantics coming up next.
All my sports! The Game Network. 107.5 The Game in Columbia. 96.9 The Game in Charleston. 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach.
It's here. The tournament time. We've been trying to tell you that you needed to get yourself set up. Well, the folks from Integrated Media can still help you get set up for all the sports that are coming your way, whether it's the big basketball tournaments, big golf tournament on the way, all the things that are happening. The folks from Integrated Media can help you get your outdoor set up. Samsung Terrace TVs that are waterproof, Wi-Fi that works indoors and outdoors. This is especially important because you have to have all your devices playing all of the different games at the same time without any lag. You can have iPad, your laptop, your phone, your TV, all of that happening with no lag because the folks at Integrated Media set up your Wi-Fi and it works indoor and outdoors. From home theater setup to adjusting your thermostat, monitoring your security system from your cell phone, Integrated Media is who you need to call. So call Nathan and Michael at 803-948-8327. That's 803-948-8327. Or you can reach them online at integratedmediainc.com.
No accidents out there. Things moving along fairly well. A few slowdowns here and there, but again, no accidents, and that's great news. But we are looking for potentially heavy thunderstorms today, starting after about 9 o'clock. The bulk of the storm activity expected to be between about 9 and 3 today. Winds will be picking up for sure. Strong winds later this afternoon and even this evening. That's all ushering in this cold front. It's going to be really chilly tonight. Overnight low of about 31. Tomorrow's high 52 and will be about 54 on Wednesday. So about 2 nights of freezing temperatures. So just crazy weather right now. Looking for high today of 71. Right now, though, 67.
for the early game morning meeting. But before I do that, quick reminder too, because it is coming up March 28th. This is the American Heart Association Heart Walk, and we're trying to raise some monies for the American Heart Association. It's a great cause, and the Heart Walk is actually a really cool event. I'm excited to go. I'm excited to get my steps in and get a little refresher on CPR too, because they're doing things where you can learn CPR in 90 seconds, and you can help us out. And with our efforts, the American Heart Association, you can walk with 107.5 The Game on March 28th at Sacred Park, where the Heart Walk is. And if you would like to donate to help us reach our fundraising goal, go to 1075thegame.com right now to sign up and or donate. So you can sign up for the Heart Walk and donate. Is a fantastic event. And shout out to Lynn Falk, who is our highest donator so far. And it's going to help me not get punished by B1067 because we are doing a fundraising contest with them. And I don't know if we lose this, what they're going to do to me. So I fear for my life. But with that being said, it is time to start off today's morning meeting.
Good morning. Repeat after me. Today will be an awesome day.
Yeah, well.
Let's go. Good morning, great today. Today will be an awesome day. Good morning, great today. Today will be an awesome day.
And of course, it's going to be a fantastic day because Preston's going to teach us a little bit of a lesson here. Now, the term walk-off is used frequently. This has become a fun bit of the show. But Preston Thorne, what happened on Friday, where it was a game-winning sack fly for Florida, you do not believe counts as a walk-off based off of the actual definition of a walk-off.
Elijah, you called it what it was, a game-winning sack fly. Can we have this clip really quickly in case anybody didn't hear it? Can we hear this very quickly? It's not a walk-off, Elijah. And it's time for us to refresh our memories on what a walk-off is and what a walk-off isn't. First and foremost, if you have to wait a sacrifice fly, listen, I love baseball. Sacrifice flies, I don't even know if they should count. But that's a whole other conversation. Because how do you get rewarded for getting out? But anyway, here's a list of things that are not walk-offs. And then I'll give you the list of things that are walk-offs. Not a walk-off, a sacrifice fly. Not a walk-off, a wild pitch. Not a walk-off, an error. Not a walk-off, a single. Not a walk-off, hit by pitch. And what we saw last year, which was the worst, most egregious offense to the word walk-off balk. It is ridiculous. We have let this thing get out of control, Elijah, because there's only one thing that is a walk-off. And do you know what that is, Elijah?
Would that be a home run that goes over the fence?
That is a home run. It is the only thing that is a walk-off is a home run. I am going to, as long as I am on these airwaves, I'm going to die on this hill that there's only one thing that is a walk-off, and that is a home run. You know why? Because Dennis Eckersley coined the phrase. Dennis Eckersley was famous for giving up a walk-off, the great one of the Kirk Gibson against the Dodgers. That was a walk-off home, one of the most, maybe the most famous walk-off. He coined it. He experienced it. So I'm going to defer to him. Elijah, do you know that the term walk-off wasn't used in the New York Times until 1999?
Oh, wow. I am older than the term walk-off?
See? It wasn't even used until 1999. And then very soon after, we started diluting what it actually means. In 2007 was the first time that a non-home run was referred to as a walk-off play. And
wow.
It's been a consistent downhill slide. You know, the slippery slope theory.
Yes.
We've been on a downhill slide since 2007, and now we've gotten to the point where a sacrifice, not even a deep sacrifice fly, It wasn't even if it was like it was just
That was
like
a pretty shallow one.
pretty shallow sacrifice fly. It's not a walk off, and this is something that I will stand on.
Is it exciting? Yes, but is it a walk off? I guess by the definition, no. Now, if it's an inside the park home run, still not a walk off.
If it's an inside the park home run, I will grant you that.
Oh, okay.
I will grant you that.
So it has to be a home run, which
Has to
I
be.
do not disagree with. I think, you're right. This has all become very diluted.
Mhm.
And it's like, what do everybody needs? It's almost like a participation trophy.
There you go, Jen.
Yep.
Words mean things, Elijah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's where I'm confused. Where with an inside the park home run, there's still a lot of action, right? Like there's still a lot going on. It's, to me, I don't know if there is a difference between, if we are arguing semantics here, what the difference between an inside the park home run being considered a walk-off versus a sacrifice fly, unless we're just sticking with the term home run.
I am sticking with the term home run.
Okay. Because Dennis Eckersley's thing, though, right, was, you're walking off the field.
Now, yes, his thing was obviously from the pitcher's perspective, as in, I throw the pitch, I give up the home run, and now I have to walk off the field into the dugout. That, and he's obviously coming from a personal vantage point from that.
He's been there.
Yes, he's been there. So I'm going to stick with the home run. However, if we wanted to just, I am totally for only making it for balls that go out of the park, which by the way, if you were also watching college baseball over the weekend, if you saw any of the clips, the Tennessee-Georgia series,
oh my God,
almost was the quintessential walk-off. Dude hits the home run, almost hits the home run, throws the bat flip, which is a whole nother conversation that we probably should have, throws the bat, and then he gets robbed, and then it doesn't turn into a walk-off. It turns into a game-winning save. And so that was awesome too. But for my money, the only way that you can have a walk-off home run, a walk-off play, is if it's a home run.
You know what? That was perfect get on the line fodder, because if you hit a ball and you want to act like that after you hit it, you better make sure that ball lands in the parking lot, right? Like that thing better break a windshield, that thing better not be ending up in a glove of your opponent to end the game. That might be the most embarrassing loss, not because of how you got beat, but like in terms of the score, but because you just were so sure that you hit a walk-off home run. Or not walk, it wouldn't be a walk-off, they were on the road, but I guess a go-ahead run, in that game, and you get robbed. Like, what I hate about that one, Preston, is that I didn't get to see his reaction once he finally realized the ball was caught, because the camera stops on him after he, spikes the bat and he's yelling at the dugout and they're doing all this. And then they show, the incredible play made by the Georgia outfielder, and they don't pan it back to the moment he finds out that it's not a home run. And I really wanted to see that.
You can put this one, and I'm sure you will appreciate this. You can put that one in the Swaggy P files.
Oh my God, yes. Wait, Swaggy P is the perfect example of that. Nick Young, it was like the ultimate celebrate way too early guy. Yeah, that's, winner. Swaggy P. Early candidate for winner. Coming up next, though, we'll go to the AAA Heating and Air phone lines. Rocky, hang on just a second for us, and we'll also talk about, speaking of bat flipping, we had a little bit of a bat flip controversy on Sunday. We will discuss that coming up next year in the early game.
All right, guys, maybe feeling like you lost your edge. Brain fog has got you struggling to focus. Are you working out and not getting the results that you're used to? Well, there's a reason why you're not feeling like yourself, and it might be low testosterone. But you don't have to live with it. You can reclaim your drive, your energy, and your focus at the Men's Clinic with Dr. Dan Baltnight, who's a respected local physician, and he'll get to the bottom of how you're feeling. Now, Dr. Boatnight is not some nameless, faceless online program. He's personal. He tailors your treatments based on your labs and your symptoms. And those labs and symptoms, they're absolutely free with your initial consultation. You get your labs and your T level checked absolutely free. You have nothing to lose and everything to gain. At the Men's Clinic, you'll find a non-threatening, comfortable environment where your concerns are welcome. Don't wait. Call them at 803-875-MENS. That's 803-875-MENS. Or you can visit them online at mensclinicsc.com.
Still looking pretty good on the highways. We love that for your Monday. No significant slowdowns, no accidents to report. And we're looking for some interesting weather today. Chance for some strong thunderstorms between about 9 and 3 today, somewhere in there. And then it'll remain windy for the rest of the evening. Our high today of 71, but definitely keep your ear to your favorite station for updates on the weather. Overnight low of about 30. Tomorrow's high 52, Wednesday 54. So interesting weather for sure. Could even see a freeze warning later tonight. Right now, though, 67.
The Early Game starts with former Gamecock Preston Thorne, Elijah Campbell, and Jen Jensen on the Game Network, 107.5 Game App, and on to The Game TV Radio on YouTube.
Before we get into bat flip discourse, we're going to head out to the AAA Heating and Air phone lines where our good pal Rocky has been waiting patiently on the line. Good morning, Rocky. Welcome back to the early game.
Good morning, and Elijah, safe travels back from Nashville. I've actually done that trip a few times, going to Vandy games, and so safe travels back to you. However you go, through the mountains, or maybe you go another way. But anyway, I want to talk a little bit about the basketball tournament and the seedings y'all were talking about, and just give you some thoughts. But first, Preston, I'm with you on the walk-off. Baseball is my favorite sport, really, and I am a baseball purist. However, I will push back on one thing with you, and that is the base hit. Whit Merrifield's hit against UCLA to score Scott Wingo was a walk-off from third base. So that's my only pushback with you on that. The rest, definitely agree as far as that. As far as the basketball tournament goes, a couple of thoughts. Duke's the overall number one seed. Well, the committee didn't do them a whole lot of favors. I wrote down the top four seeds in all the regions, and you got Duke, you got UConn, Michigan State, Kansas, and you also mentioned St. John's. And also about Rick Pitino. Yeah, I don't want him raising my kids, but I sure wouldn't mind my kid playing for him, because he's a heck of a basketball coach as far as that goes. And that kind of leads me to this to end. And I got three teams that are not number one seeds that I have thought, okay, they're going to be possibilities that might break that all four number ones. The first one is, as you said, Rick Pitino, and that's St. John's. The second one is Coach Cal in Arkansas. And the third one is UVA. I watched that Duke Virginia game, and boy, that was a good basketball game. So those are kind of my three that right now off the top. And yeah, Elijah, I hadn't filled my bracket out yet. And I'm also with you. I will print out a bracket and fill it out on paper.
Yes.
I'm just, that's just something you got to do. You got to have that piece of paper, and you got to X them off as they go, or hopefully check them forward. But yeah, that's my thoughts.
Oh, appreciate the call, Rocky. Yeah, I mean, filling out a bracket is the most satisfying feeling to me. That is one of my just favorite things to do, is to fill it out by hand, right? Again, something I've been doing on a year-to-year basis since I was like 9 years old. Absolutely love it. Still do it to this day, and still follow along the bracket, with a live one that I keep with me. It stays in my backpack wherever I'm watching games. I know we're going to be out at Twin Peaks. Terry and the I don't know why I'm blanking on shows. That is, sleep has not been that much of a thing. The post-game show, and the halftime show, as tradition, doing shows out there at Twin Peaks. I want to go, and I want to be part of the action. And guess what I'm going to bring with me? My blank bracket, and I will fill them out as they go final. Yes. Never fill them out until the clock hits 0. I don't care what the score deficit is. I'm not filling it out and putting and advancing a team until there are zeros on the scoreboard. And it's my favorite thing to do. But I do like his little group of three there: St. John's, Arkansas, and Virginia. I like them all for different reasons. But Virginia is one of those teams too. They're just so well coached. Like, Ryan Odom is such a good coach. I was kind of hoping, just for humor's sake and history's sake, that we could get, Virginia as like a 2 seed, and that UMBC would be a 15, and we could just try this whole thing all over again and see if history repeats itself. It would be really funny. But it's also funny considering the coach of that UMBC team, who was the first ever 16 to beat a 1, was coached by Ryan Odom, which is very ironic. And now he's coaching at Virginia. A little bit of interesting twist of fate there. Those are 3 interesting teams. My only thing, though, Rocky, is as much as I love Arkansas, as much as I love Darius Acuff, I fell in love with Wisconsin even harder. And that would be an incredible second-round game. If chalk holds, that is our second-round game. But bat flip discourse is what is on the menu right now. And Preston Thorne, in what would normally be a not-so-interesting game and a run rule game on Sunday, we got something interesting that happened. And that was Brendan Lawson for Florida absolutely sends one on Alex Valentin, and he let him know. He stopped. He even stopped and stared at it for a little bit.
Yeah.
Throws the bat not even towards his dugout, but towards the pitching mound.
Yeah.
And of course, Valentin not happy about it. Paul Maneri definitely not happy about it, and that ended up kind of outside of getting run ruled in Gainesville to end the series. That ends up becoming the thing that ends up being the biggest talking point from it.
Now, see, I love this conversation because I don't even get into it from a purity aspect because, listen, we do it whatever. But there's a couple of things that my biggest question about anything involving this is, can we fight? And if we can fight, if we can fight, then we can put a quash to all of this because your boy Lawson did a couple of things which inherit the idea of, oh, we have to fight now. Do not stare at me that long because now you're inviting me to fight. Do not throw your bat at me because now you are inviting me to fight. And don't take too long around the bases because now you are inviting me to fight. I don't have a problem with you doing any of those things as long as we can fight. But if we can't fight, that's when I get into this whole concept of like, I don't know if it's so cool because baseball has sort of taken away all of the recourses that you had. I can't throw the ball at you anymore. I can't run you over. I can't slide high into the second baseman and break up a double play. So all of the recourses that you sort of had against this thing have been legislated out of the game. And so that's my only issue. I don't really have a problem with you celebrating your home runs. I just need to know, can we fight?
I don't even have a problem with, the trash talking like around the bases, like especially with someone like Alex Valentin. I mean, he dishes it, right?
I mean, come on, dog. You can't be too sensitive. We saw you doing all your stuff. It's cool.
Right. At that point, you just kind of have to take it. But I will say this: since there is no ability to fight, like in hockey, we're just going to drop the gloves on the next face-off, and we're both going to go to the penalty box, right? No harm, no foul. But if there is no actual recourse that can be taken and you do that, you get the fake tough guy tag. So Lawson gets the fake tough guy tag.
And that's where I'm sort of with you on that because again, there is no way for us to handle this aside from you just doing it, and I have to sort of sit there and take it. So that's if I was to get into like the whole sportsmanship, I'm not even here for that. But I would say, hey, dog, celebrate with your team. Don't stare at me and don't throw the bat towards me because now we're doing something different.
I say, your ability to be upset is limited. Don't give up a bomb. That's
true
kind of my biggest thing too. You don't want him to pimp a home run. Don't feed him one.
I agree.
And then another one too, if you do that, you're still an a-hole. Like that doesn't make it any less, that part any less true. Well, I did see a lot on Twitter though. It's like, put the next one in the batter's ear or, in the ear hole, put one in the ear hole next time. And I'm like, well, I get what you're saying, but in a weekend in which you only struck out 17 and walked 19, that's the one thing about baseball I've never understood is that sometimes the recourse is at a strategic disadvantage to you, right?
Yeah,
and to me, the strategic advantage is more important than getting your lick back.
Yeah, that's why I also said fight because I don't want to. I mean, I don't want to throw a 98-mile projectile at your head. That's dangerous.
Right, it's dangerous.
Well, fist fight is, usually a lot safer than that. So you hit a home run off me. I challenge you to a fight. We fight, and then we can move on.
Incorporate the penalty box in baseball.
Exactly.
Let them sit it out for an inning.
Sit out for an inning. We just fought. It's no problem. We can move forward.
I never knew that was a cause that I'd be so passionate about until this very day. But coming up next, though, it's quiz time. How many mid-major team nicknames can Preston Thorne guess? We'll find out. Coming up next here in the early game.
Campbell and Jen Jensen on the Game Network, 107.5 Game app, and the Game TV radio on YouTube.
Oh, it's time for a quiz. I don't think if we were arguing semantics today, semantics certainly a winner. It can't be a pop quiz because it was in the grid. So it's not technically a pop quiz. However, it is a quiz. And Preston Thorne is going to be quizzed right now on today's game of Guess That Mascot. All right, Preston Thorne, this is the perfect time to do it because the NCAA tournament is so accessible to it's accessible to every league. Your league champion gets in, which means a lot of the really small schools, some that don't even play football, but some that are in FCS and football are going to be represented in this thing. And it's time that we get familiar with some of them. So we're going to start off, Preston, with one that we talked about. LIU.
The Sand Sharks.
They're just the Sharks, but I'll count it. We'll count
it. Good start. We're off to a good start. I feel like you might be setting me up, though.
I do. I like to be a little tricky with this. Now, making their first ever NCAA tournament appearance, Cal Baptist.
The Cal Baptist Monarchs.
Oh, so close, but not quite. They are the Lancers.
I was going to say sinners, but okay.
They are neither sinners nor saints, at least not that I can attest to. I don't know them like that.
Shout out to Ryan Coogler.
Hey, big winners from last night.
Big winners.
Big winners. Big winners. But the Lancers are dancers, and they are in the tournament. Queens.
I didn't wait, teacher. I didn't realize this was going to be a fill in the blank quiz. I was hoping this was going to be multiple choice.
Oh, I can make them multiple choice. I'll even give you the option. I'm a great teacher.
Do you want the student to have any success? Because right now it's going to be pretty pitiful. But continue.
All right, now we'll go to Queens. Do you need multiple choice?
Yes.
Okay. Queens, are they the Monarchs, the Royals, or the Lions?
This is tricky. We just played them. I should know. The Lions.
Incorrect. They are the Royals.
I was going to go with that. We just played them.
But you thought it was a trick question,
Exactly.
because Queens, Royal.
That's the thing. He's got me all twisted now.
You thought I was getting I wish I was good enough to come up with that. I thought Monarchs was.
He's pulling an old teacher trick. He got me second guessing myself. Continue.
Kennesaw State.
Oh, boy.
Are they the Panthers, the Owls, or the Pride?
I'm going to eliminate the Pride. I'm going to go with the Kennesaw State Owls.
I think it's the Owls.
Correct.
Yes.
Can I get a hootie hoo?
Let's go.
Hoo hoo.
There we go. That's the spirit. Now, High Point. Are they the Crusaders, the Panthers, or the Sharks?
Sharks are eliminated. He wouldn't put two Sharks on the same quiz.
Would he?
Or would he? I don't think he would. What was the first two answers again?
They're the Highlanders or the Panthers.
The High Point Highlanders, the High Point Panthers. I'm going to go with the Highlanders.
That would be incorrect. Oh. They are the Panthers.
Oh.
Should have been like the rocking chairs or something. They make a bunch of furniture up there, don't they?
They do. Yeah, actually, High Point.
High Point, North Carolina?
Yes, a hub for furniture.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Now, this one, a mainstay in the NCAA tournament, St. Mary's. St. Mary's. Are they the Monarchs? Are they the Gales? Or are they the Panthers?
A, Monarchs.
That would be incorrect. Oh! They are the Gales.
What is a Gale?
I don't know. I don't even know what a Lancer is either.
I think a Lancer has a sword. I think. If you lance somebody, you cut them. So.
Okay.
And then I was going to, So I think like you have a sword. I think a Lancer is somebody who has a sword. But I don't know what a Gale is.
Now,
a heavy, strong wind.
Oh, Gale force winds, maybe. Gales as the actual spelling.
Oh.
Last one.
Oh boy.
Idaho. Are they the Vandals, the Monarchs, or the Panthers?
He's mentioned the Monarchs a lot.
Monarchs has been coming up a lot. Yeah, see that I know. Again, as a teacher, I know what you're doing here. But I know this one very specifically because of college football, because of NCAA playing in that stadium. Give me the Vandals.
Correct.
That's right.
Nice.
I do know that one.
Do you want to guess Hofstra really quick?
The Hofstra Islanders.
I'll give you 3 choices.
Okay.
They are
not Islanders.
The Rangers, the Pride, or the Monarchs.
Not the Monarchs. Give me the Pride.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yes.
Not on to my game.
Nicely done.
There are no Monarchs on this list. The only Monarchs I know of in Division I sports is Old Dominion.
Well, can I tell you real quick? In Centralia, Illinois, their high school, they are the Orphans.
Oh, no.
And that's because they had mismatched uniforms back in the 40s. So
Oh, no.
that's the mascot.
Oh, no. Oh, I bet that made for some incredible unhinged headlines. Oh, we'll try to make it hinged here for hour number 3, the early game third and long hours next.
Hey, it's Jen for CHW Cabinetry in Lexington. We had all the demolition we had to do in the kitchen, but it was such a good process. As much as we didn't love to have to go through it, it was such a great experience with CHW Cabinetry that when it came time to update a couple of bathrooms, that was the only place that we went for a couple of extra cabinets for those bathrooms. They helped us through the process in every single situation, and very communicative. You never had to wonder what was going on. They always reached out and we're helping you with the process. If you're looking to do any kind of updates in your home, whether it's in a closet, whether it's in a pantry, whether you want to totally remodel a kitchen or create a home office workspace, so many ways they can help you in your home. Visit chwcabinetry.com. Call them at 803-520-6837. Be sure to tell them Jen sent you. It's a locally owned business, a women-owned business, CHW Cabinetry. Passion from inspiration to installation.
.org.
It's the Game Network Traffic Report from the Schroeder's Towing Traffic Center. Broken down and need a tow or even free signage for your lot? Dial pound 250 and use keyword tow truck today.
I-20 eastbound, the off-ramp to I-26 is partially blocked due to a disabled vehicle. So just be mindful if you were getting off on I-20 eastbound, that off-ramp onto I-26. And the forecast, yep, it's kind of ugly today. Starting sometime after 9 o'clock till about 3 or so, thunderstorms, potentially heavy, will be in our forecast. Strong winds, potential for maybe some tornadic activity. It's all bringing in a cold front. So today's high is 71. May have an overnight low with a freeze watch of about 30, and tomorrow's high 52.
Your home for the Gamecocks. 107.5 The Game. WNKT Eastover, Columbia. A Cumulus media station. What a catch! The Early Game with former Gamecock Preston Thorne, Elijah Campbell, and Jen Jensen on the Game Network and streaming on the 107.5 The Game app.
The Early Game, third and long hour, starts right now. I'm Elijah Campbell. He is Preston Thorne. She is Jen Jensen. Back in studio 803. Got our man Randy in the production room, I assume.
We have someone.
He is here.
Randy, the dude. He's a machine. Randy Young, our engineer, always keeping us on the air and helping us with our video stream, which, of course, you can just go to YouTube and go to the Game TV Radio, where you will be able to find us. Or if you just search in the search bar, 107.5 The Game, we show up pretty easily. So hit subscribe to make sure you don't miss out on any of our video content. But the lead story for today, unfortunately, is the weekend that was in Gainesville. Now, first game, South Carolina pitches well enough to keep Florida off the scoreboard, but it was not enough to win the game. They lose 1-0 and only get one hit and lose despite giving up only 2 hits and Florida committing 3 errors. In game 2, another game with no runs and the pitching staff at least keeping Florida from an offensive explosion, losing 3-0. And then yesterday, it all culminated in a run rule game. Florida wins 13-3 in 7 innings. And I can't help but notice, Preston Thorne, that the biggest story here, and the one thing I cannot go and ignore, is the offensive futility. We did the math early in the show. South Carolina hit 115 in this series. Not going to get it done. Pitching, while despite keeping Florida off the scoreboard, which is the main goal, 17 strikeouts and 19 walks during the series. You only mustered 11 hits in 26 innings, and you struck out 24 times in the series as well, getting really close to a strikeout per inning. We talked a lot about this series going into it on Friday, about how big this is. It's the start of SEC play. This is ultimately how you are judged. And with that being kind of, I guess, the standard for this game of how we view it, and going back to the Clemson game too, now you are 1-5 in your 2 series against power conference opponents. It's not looking like this year will be much better than last based off what we've just seen so far.
Yeah, and it doesn't seem like there's going to be some magic potion or pill that they can take in order to get rid of these remedies, despite my prescriptions that I've given them. It doesn't quite work that way. But I think each one of these games showed the sort of whack-a-mole type of quality that the team has. Right? On Friday, you can't get the offense going. You can't score any runs. You can't generate any runs. And that's maybe the word that I'm looking at, idea of generating runs, because on Saturday they tried to go into this idea where we're going to generate some runs with the safety squeeze with Bo Hollins. Did not work. He ends up striking out. They end up going out in the inning. And then on top of that, on Saturday, you drop a fly ball, basically a can of corn type of fly ball. You make an error, they score, and then on Sunday, you see what happens. So all of the things that we've seen all year, they've been this weekend, was culminated, and we saw it all this weekend. And I'm not sure if that changes with any extra work that they have going forward.
No, and there's a lot of work that's going to have to be done going forward. Paul Mainieri talked about this kind of, at the end of the series, talking about maybe adjustments. I mean, in the 26 innings, he scored runs in only one of them, right? And this is actually after Saturday's game specifically. And in terms of what this team is trying, this will be cut 5, Jen. This is Paul Mainieri after the game Saturday, which at that point you were shut out for 2 straight games and hadn't scored a run since the 5th inning of the game against the Citadel. And of course, a game in which you lost 8-3. And all the strikeouts you've had, the inability to put the bat on the ball, inability to just generate the runs that you talked about was starting to mount. Here's what Paul discussed after Saturday's game in terms of just trying everything they can to generate runs.
You know what? I mean, their pitching's really good. I mean, they're really, really good. I mean, what can I say? The kid that started today hasn't given up an earned run all year, and the other kid last night's going to be a top 10 pick. And they brought in one of the 2 guys they brought in last night that throws in the upper 90s. I mean, it's a big challenge, and we're gonna. I mean, believe me, Monty's working as hard as he can on it. He's frustrated like I am. We're just not hitting against really good pitching. So hopefully tomorrow we'll be better. We've tried everything. Believe me, we're trying to get them going. But when you have opportunities, we didn't have a lot of opportunities, but especially when we had a runner at third and less than 2 outs, you just got to get that guy in. If we get that guy in, it's a 1-1 game. Who knows what ends up happening? But like I said, we gave up the 2 runs in the 7th inning because we free passed them, 4 times in the inning, and they hit a couple of sacrifice flies. And now you really got to hit your way back into it. We didn't hit a lot of balls hard. We hit a few balls hard, but they made, look at the last inning. Talmadge smoked that one at left field. The second baseman just made a great play on a ball that with that last one back. And sometimes it's your hitters, sometimes it's their pitchers, sometimes they make great plays, and you just gotta keep believing in your kids, and they let them keep going up there and competing hard, and hopefully they'll start to fall for us.
Couple things, Preston Thorne. One, he talked about Florida having really good pitching. That is true. At the same time, you're in the same league as them. You are also in the SEC. When you build a roster and you build the team, you got to build it to be able to hit really good pitching. And knowing, you're going to go into every series, knowing the other team's pitching staff is going to be really good, with the exception of like Missouri. But also, he mentioned not getting a lot of great contact. And then when they did get great contact, sometimes Florida made great plays. Can that be true? Yes. But at the same time, it's just a law of averages thing. The more good contact you can put on the baseball, the less likely they're able to make great plays in the field all the time, right? If you only hit 5 good balls all series, just an estimate, just a random number, like say this is 5 balls that you think you hit really, really good, and they make really good plays on 2 of them, then you're only left with about 3 really good quality base hits. And it felt like that was the case for a lot of this series. Sometimes baseball is about succumbing to bad luck, but also creating your own luck. And when it comes to things like the Queens game, right, where there was a lot of luck talking about how good Queens played in the field, that can be very true. But there's also an element of needing to create your own luck against really good pitching, and this team just didn't do that all weekend.
Biggest sports beliefs is that the idea that, who's the lucky teams? The good teams. Mm-hmm. Good teams seem to be lucky. The bad teams seem to be quote unquote unlucky all the time. And also when you strike out that many times throughout a series, you're not putting the ball in play enough. You're not putting enough pressure on them. You're not giving yourself the chance to generate any runs. So the idea, I think we can move past the idea of like, oh, it's just baseball. Sometimes they fall, sometimes they don't. No, they have not fell. And until they do something different, or until they improve, then they haven't gotten that taken care of, because there's 2 things that's happening. You brought in these transfer portal players who were supposed to get the bats going. That hasn't happened. And your offensive philosophy does not seem to be producing runs. So are the players not producing them? Are we not coaching them to producing them? We're not sure what's happening, but the bottom line is it's not happening. And I think for myself personally, you kind of get over the idea of, oh, it's just baseball. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, sometimes they make catches. No, that's not a good enough reason right now.
And it can fly for a couple of games, right? I mean, it can fly for a game here, a game there, where you do maybe get a random result. But after it starts stacking up for a little bit, like, people just don't want to hear it, right? And I think that's the sentiment with a lot of Gamecock fans right now. It's like they're just tired of hearing it, and at some point you got to be able to get the results, and just the results aren't coming in. And we saw this same type of thing last year. And when you kind of run it back, it becomes a little bit of a rerun. And if the original show wasn't very good, no one's going to want to watch the rerun. We'll go to the AAA Heating and Air phone lines, 803-404-6100, where Brian is on the line. Good morning, Brian. Welcome to the early game.
Good morning. Thank you very much. How are y'all doing today?
Fantastic. How are you, man?
I'm doing well. I just wanted to make a quick comment kind of building on what you were saying about making your own luck for the baseball team.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I really noticed, especially in the Friday night towards the end of the game, the 0-0 game, obviously, still in it, trying to get the go-ahead run. We have a 3-0 count. The pitcher is getting a little bit wild, not throwing really good strikes, and then we swing at the pitch and do a weak pop-up for the out, and then we get nothing out of it.
Mm-hmm.
So I've noticed that kind of thing kind of keeps coming up with this baseball team where, we might be starting to get a break, and then we do something that just shouldn't be done generally, and it kills it.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wanted to see what y'all thought about that, and I'll hang up and listen.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for the call, Brian. And Brian, you bring up a point that I think a lot of people have been really upset with, and rightfully so, when it comes to the hitting lineup. This dates back to last year too, right? In terms of the approach at the plate. And I think it was KJ Scobie who was at the plate for that kind of aforementioned at bat. It's 3-0, and they're getting maybe a little erratic with their pitching. Florida, even in that first game, was a little erratic just from the field too. I mean, they had 3 errors in that game. There were a couple of pitchers for Florida that did have multiple walks, and you get into a 3-0 count. It's a very important part. Runs are at a premium. Would it hurt to see maybe a little more patience there to make them throw you a strike? That is where I would be personally. In terms of my personal baseball philosophy, I am a big advocate of, if it's 3-0, taking and making them throw you a strike, right? I understand the idea of this is where they might give you something to hit because they don't want to give up the free pass. But at the same time, make them have to hit the zone, right? Make them prove it. Maybe even make them prove it twice. I don't know. Make them prove they're going to hit that zone consistently, because walks are a good thing. Right. It certainly helped Florida this weekend, drawing 19 of them. If you like, winning the walk battle is almost kind of like winning a rebounding battle in basketball. Is that what's going to win you the game? Not always, right? It's not always the case, but does it help you out a lot? Yes. And if an opportunity presents itself to get a free base, especially in a game in which runs are at a premium, you're not hitting the ball very well, they're not hitting the ball very well, you got to be able to take advantage of that. And that certainly did. That at bat felt like a gut punch.
Let's do this real quick. We got really quick. Jen, can we get clip number 2? Because this is Paul Mainieri talking about that specific at bat, and let's hear from Paula how they approached it.
Yeah, I gave him the green light. And, I just felt that our best chance to score was let KJ swing and try to hit one out or hit one in the gap. Obviously, the hitters after KJ hadn't done much all night, and we had a lot of strikeouts. And he's your guy. He's your cleanup hitter, and he's your power hitter, and he was going to get a cripple pitch. I mean, if you can call a 98-mile-an-hour fastball a cripple pitch, but he was, he had to come into him, and KJ was just a tad late on the pitch, and but I don't regret that. I think the next 2 hitters didn't do anything, and even if we'd have walked or whatever, got the guy in the scoring position, we didn't get anything there, but. No, if I had to do it all over again, I'd have him hit again. I've given him green lights a lot in 2 years, and usually he does some damage. You guys just beat him a little bit with that fastball.
So there you have it. I mean, the rationale sounds good. I get the reasoning. It's just not what I would do in that scenario. I know it's easy for me to sit here after the result wasn't good to say that you shouldn't have done it, right? I mean, I always hate when that happens, when someone brings up the result as opposed to the process of thinking to get to what your action or inaction was in any given moment in any sporting event. But at the same time too, I think even going into that, I don't think I would have been very willing to give somebody the green light in that specific situation. But maybe it's just me.
Yeah, and again, listening to it all sounds good, but what I also hear is this idea of like, we have one guy that can get us a hit and nobody else can, and that's going to be very difficult to coach with as you get through the SEC.
And I think that even that alone is another indication of a pretty large problem with your lineup if you don't feel confident enough in the guys below it to be able to go up there and take swings and be able to get themselves on base. It's this kind of a reflection of an even larger problem that this baseball team is dealing with. Coming up next, though, it was a very busy weekend in sports, whether it's on the diamond or on the hardwood, and Preston Thorne has his accolades to give out because next is Thorns, Buds, and Roses here on the early game.
Hey, it's Jen for Carolina Stone Craftsman. Are you doing some updates in your home? Maybe needing some countertops, vanities, showers, maybe tub surrounds, even doing some work around a fireplace or custom hardscapes? Well, look no further than Carolina Stone Craftsman in Chapin. They're family owned and operated, meaning you deal with the owners directly. You're not dealing with the sales rep, you're not doing a call center. They've been serving the Columbia area for over 2 decades, which means not only do they know the product, they also know the market, and even better, they know their customers. They offer full fabrication where they cut and they shape and then they install the products. And we use them when we needed countertops for a couple of bathrooms that we redid. And every step of the process, it was great. We visited their incredible showroom, discussed our plans, and then they helped us make everything happen. If you have projects coming up, reach out to Carolina Stone Craftsman, 803-408-3456. Tell them Jen sent you. CarolinaStoneCraftsman.com. Beyond Columbia and Chapin and beyond your expectations. Traffic not terrible out there this morning. I-20 eastbound, the off-ramp to I-26. It's partially blocked due to an incident there. Aside from that, no major slowdowns, so not too bad. No accidents to report. Thunderstorms potentially heavy today, starting just in a little while, expecting the most of the activity to be until about 3 o'clock this afternoon. We are under a tornado watch until 2 p.m. today. We have a freeze warning for tonight. So today's high 71, then a freeze warning tonight. Tomorrow's high 52. Right now, it's 67 on 107.5 The Game.
The Early Game with former Gamecock Preston Thorne, Elijah Campbell, and Jen Jensen on the Game Network, 107.5 Game app, and the Game TV radio on YouTube.
Between all of the madness on the hardwood and, well, I guess the madness, emphasis on the mad, on the baseball diamond, there are plenty of accolades to give out from over the weekend. That's where our man Preston Thorne comes in to give us Thorns, Buds, and Roses.
It's time for Thorns, Buds, and Roses with Preston Thorne on the Early Game, 107.5 The Game.
Fake tough guys. Fake tough guys, as we've seen your boy from Florida qualify squarely in the fake tough guy category because, listen, man, it's cool to hit a home run. It's fun to celebrate. And even as in the baseball parlance, to pimp it, bat flip, whatever you want to do. If you want to do the hezzy around third base like Acuna, I'm cool with all of that. But the minute that you start being demonstrative and talking towards me, throwing your bat towards me, now you've entered fake tough guy category. And I asked a simple question as I asked earlier. Do you want to fight? Because now you've crossed a barrier between we are playing a game and we're generally playing this game to now you've crossed disrespectful lines. Hit your home run, celebrate with your teammates, but don't move it forward towards me because then now we have to have a confrontation about it. And you saw this. And I think that really the distinction comes in when I watched the Dominican Republic in the World Series, which shout out to the USA. Got yourselves off the line by winning last night in a great game. Watch them. When they hit a home run, yes, they do all the bat flipping. Yes, they do all the celebrating, but they don't ever do it towards the other team. It's really all about them. And I'm cool with that. The minute you turn it towards the other team, I have a problem with it. Buds. Unfortunately, there was an invasive species that was planted in Colombia last year, and we didn't get rid of it. It's the apathy plant, and it's spreading. When you have an invasive species, you have to get rid of it, or else it will spread, and sooner or later, it'll take over, and it'll eat up all the nutrients in your little garden, and now you have this big Bradford pear tree, which is pretty for 1 week of the year, but the rest of the year, it is terrible. And now we have apathy, which has set in the USC baseball fan base, and we are dangerously close to it setting in all men's athletics. Apathy is in. We need to take it out. We need to get rid of it, dig it up, remove it, because if not, it's not going to like what we see. We're going to turn our pretty garden into a unhealthy jungle here in a minute. Get rid of the apathy plant. It is taking root. Last but not least, we need 89 roses for Coach Lou Holtz, who will have his memorial today at 1 p.m. He'll be buried next to Newt Rockne, probably the two people he wanted to be like the most. He'll be buried next to Newt Rockne and Beth Holtz, his idol as a coach and his idol as his wife. He always had the phrase that he says, with his wife, he didn't pray for her, he prayed to her. And that was always his thing that he would always say. But Coach Holtz, as I've said on here many a times, was a tough man to play for. And a lot of the things that his methods may not be necessarily approved for 2025. And I can't say that I enjoyed it all the time when I played for him, but more so than enjoying it, now that I'm an adult, I appreciated it. And, enjoyment is fine for a little while, but appreciation lasts for a long time. Mm-hmm. And there's still a lot of the lessons that he taught when I played for him that I'm still learning, using, and living with. So Coach Holtz is always going to be appreciated, always going to be somebody that will be honored and revered, not only for what he did in the program as a whole, but there's a lot of men, and not young men, a lot of men, grown men, that are going to be reflecting on all of the things that Coach taught us. So shout out to Coach, sending them off with nothing but roses and love. And the final 3 things he would always say, 3 questions you could ask about anybody. Can I trust you? Do you care? Are you committed? And that was our baseline, and that's something that we'll take with us forever. Elijah, those are our thorns, buds, and roses.
Yeah. Shout out Lou Holtz too, because he does have one of those traits that I admire in all coaches, is that like winning on the field is one thing. That's what keeps you your job. That's what gets you the cool pay raises. That's what, creates career advancement. But he's one of those two that, like, everybody that I have talked to that has played for Coach Holtz mirrors that exact same sentiment that you just laid out there. And I think that's way more impactful than just winning and losing. And you're able to bring some things that he talked about and use them for the rest of your life. Like, that's the role that coaches are most importantly going to play too. And, yesterday I thought about that a little bit in terms of listening to Coach Cal speak, because Coach Cal went on a little bit of a tangent of here at Arkansas, like I coach for the names on the back of the jersey, right? He's like, yeah, do we want to win for the community? We want it for the town? Absolutely. But he's like, at the end of the day, I'm here for the development of these kids. And that's what's most important to me. I think sometimes that does kind of get lost because we do live in such a hyper competitive society. College sports has for decades been all about winning and revenue generation. And it's become a multi-billion-dollar business to the point where things like what Lou Holtz would teach kind of get put on the back burner, right? And unfortunately, I hear a lot of, some of the negative stories about college sports. Talk to people that are in the business, that there's a lot of negative things that do happen, and maybe there is a little more of a loss of connection between coach and player. But the truly best coaches that are, that have coached and still exist to coach, that are still in their respective sports right now, are the ones who are able to bridge that gap the best, to be able to be really competitive, good at what they do, but also kind of have that lasting impression.
Yeah, and that's the thing, about Coach Holtz and about a lot of these types of guys, is that, as I said, man, it wasn't necessarily something that you enjoyed in the moment all the time, but as an 18 to 22-year-old person, do you really need to be enjoying? I had plenty of other times to enjoy. I needed somebody to give me some structure. I needed somebody to, make things a little bit difficult, to challenge me, to bring out the best in me, to bring out things in me that I didn't know I could that I would not have been able to accomplish by myself. And that's something that I do lament a little bit as the game changes, as far as what are we necessarily valuing at all levels, whether this is, college level, high school level, etc. That's something that was always a mainstay of coaches, was to bring that thing out of them. And when you talked about that idea with Cal, one of the things I respect and admire about Cal is, regardless of what people thought about Cal, when I hear his former players talk about him, and that's how I always gauge coaches. How do the former players talk about them? And when I hear Cal's former players talk about him, they talk about him making them better, getting them money, and changing their lives. And that's something that he's always been very much on mission for. So even though he doesn't feel like, even though some folks at Kentucky don't feel like he was as successful, if you ask those players, he was immensely successful in their lives.
Yeah, just take the contrast between like how players who played for Coach Holtz, or in that example that we kind of just laid out with Coach Cal, how they talk about their former coaches, and compare that or contrast that with the reaction of former players from Brian Kelly when he got fired from LSU. Completely different. Completely different. And I think that tells me all I really need to know.
What a point. Great point.
That tells me all I need to know about how well you are making that connection between being competitive and also trying to positively impact the lives of the young men, and young women too, that you are in charge of on a daily basis. But coming up next, it is time for the early game to go deep into. And this week we are going with March Madness phenomena. Now, it is one of those things. March Madness is a magical event, and some weird things happen that we can't explain. But for part one, we'll discuss the idea of chalk. Will the NCAA tournament get chalkier as time goes by in a new era of college sports? We'll start that discussion next here in the early game. Elijah Campbell here, my friends over at the Ecton Law Firm. Are tax issues weighing you down? Well, don't let the stresses of taxes keep lingering, because our friends at the Ecton Law Firm are here for you. Call 803-771-9800. My man John Ecton and his team can set up that free consultation and take advantage of that local team that they have that's been resolving income or business tax issues for good. They understand those challenges that you and your business can face, and that's why John Ecton and his team are perfectly qualified to offer you the most important thing, which is peace of mind. Again, 803-771-9800, or you can always visit them at ectonlawfirm.com. That's ECTONlawfirm.com to be able to get yourself out of that IRS maze. So don't forget, take one step closer to a worry-free life today, taking care of those tax issues by calling our friends over at the Ecton Law Firm.
Sponsored by you.
Columbia, the non-surgical regenerative orthopedic specialists of the Midlands. Request your consultation today by dialing pound 250 and use keyword QC Kinetics.
It's the Game Network Traffic Report from the Schroeder's Towing Traffic Center. Broken down and need a tow or even free signage for your lot? Dial pound 250 and use keyword tow truck today.
No accidents reported aside from I-20 eastbound. That off-ramp is partially blocked as you're making your way onto I-26. Aside from that, no other accidents to make you aware of. But we do want to make you aware of the weather. It's going to impact things today. Potentially heavy thunderstorms starting a little after 9 this morning. The window, they're saying, till about 3 o'clock this afternoon. Strong winds, potential for a tornado. In fact, there's a tornado watch until 2 p.m. today. Our high 71. Cold front will come through. We could have a freeze warning tonight. And then tomorrow's high 52. Right now, it is 67 on 107.5 The Game.
The Early Game. Yes! With former Gamecocks Preston Thorne, Elijah Campbell, and Jen Jensen. On the Game Network, 107.5 Game app, and the Game TV radio on YouTube.
It is time for the Early Game third and long hour to go deep. And this week, our series is going to be on the phenomenon in March Madness. And the first one we'll start off with is chalk, because this event historically has been unpredictable. Even throughout a lot of the changes in college sports, you get a lot of upsets, miracle Cinderella runs, all the things that make this event fantastic. And last year in the men's side, only the second time in tournament history did it go completely chalk, where all 4 number 1 seeds reached the Final Four. Now, in the women's side, it's historically chalkier, right? But we've seen more examples of upsets over the years. And I still expect, though, when I look at the women's bracket, to get all 4 ones in. And like, that's an expectation. And that's an expectation some years, because I think in the women's game, there is such a big difference between the top 4 teams usually and everybody else. I think there's just not as much variance in that sport. The men's has always been different. It's always been a little more, it's more, for some reason, more ripe for just random runs by teams, right? I mean, we've had a multitude of 11 seeds that have made the Final Four. VCU made a Final Four. Loyola Chicago made a Final Four. Even smaller schools like Florida Atlantic and George Mason have made Final Fours. And even 11 seeds in the Power Conference. Yes, South Carolina. Yeah, South Carolina made a Final Four and having to beat a 2 seed in the second round to do it. I mean, there are countless of examples. Even like in 2021, UCLA as an 11 seed. They were an 11 seed, but it's also UCLA. Just underperformed in the regular season, got hot in the tournament, and found themselves in the Final Four. They lost on a miracle buzzer beater by Jalen Suggs. But with this past year being all 4 1 seeds and not getting a ton of upsets in the first or second rounds, it kind of leads me to wonder, is the new landscape of college basketball kind of gearing us towards chalkier tournaments? Was last year a fluke or a blip on the radar, or just a fun trivia question one day? Because that year in 2008 are the only other tournaments that have done that on the men's side? Or is this something that's going to start happening with more regularity?
Now, when you say the idea of the new landscape, you're talking about NIL, you're talking about transfer portal, you're talking about player movement, essentially the idea that some of these players who were at mid-majors or who are at these lower schools would be able to take their talents to a bigger school, and the bigger schools would essentially absorb the talent from these other places. That's what you're referencing, right?
Correct. Yeah. Where the talent in the sport shifts around on a yearly basis.
And it becomes more top heavy. So very similar to what you said about the women's tournament, how you don't have the talent spread across the whole tournament. I think that's a possibility. I don't think we can jump to that conclusion as of yet, because also this idea of chalk, Elijah, is yes, the 4 teams made it to the finals. Okay, that's something that doesn't happen. But also when I think of chalk is, what about throughout the rest of the bracket? Did chalk hold up throughout the rest of the bracket? And I contend that I don't really care if the first 4, if the top 4 teams, if the number 1 seeds make it to the Final Four, that's okay. What I don't want to see is chalk throughout the rest of the bracket, because then that leads to me sort of that's not necessarily what you're here for. You're here for some upsets and some close runs throughout the rest of the bracket. But if number 1s make it to the thing, I actually think I'm actually cool with that.
If we end up getting all 4 1s, I mean, I thought it worked
out
really well.
As long as there's some fun along the way.
Right. Yeah. As long as you still get some of those stories, like St. Peter's making it to the Elite 8, and which I even love when they actually break through and make it to the Final Four, right? Like those become incredible stories that like those schools cash in on, and they remember, and they parlay that into the rest of their existence, right? It's really good for those schools. And that's what makes, I think, this tournament so great, is that it's such an opportunity creator. like men's and women's both. I think that's one of the biggest commonalities between both tournaments is that it is such a big opportunity creator that if you are a coach at a mid-major, that if you win 2 games in this thing, even if just winning one, can turn that into a Power 4 job, right? Or I guess in basketball, Power 5, you consider the Big East a power conference. They just don't play football. So you can parlay into one of those jobs, which are all really good coaching jobs compared to other places with significantly fewer resources. In terms of like enjoyment, I do enjoy when we do get the 4-1 seeds in a Final Four, men's and women's. I think it creates really good matchups on the biggest stage. I am a little worried. Terrified is maybe not the greatest way to say that. Worried that it is going to get to a point where the talent shifts around enough to where it's hard for mid-majors to build competitive teams with higher majors. Now, this is only a 1-year thing because, just a couple of years ago, San Diego State played in a Final Four. Florida Atlantic played in a Final Four. But to use those examples, Florida Atlantic, who went to that Final Four, has their head coach, Dusty May, who goes to Michigan. And who does Dusty May take with him? Vlad Golden, like the starting center. Now, this happened. Dusty stayed 1 more year, and they got bounced in the first round against Northwestern the next year. But a couple years later, Dusty May leaves. Vlad Golden goes with him. Elijah Martin transfers to Florida, where he ends up winning a national championship. Nick Boyd transfers to Wisconsin, where he's having an incredible year at Wisconsin right now and has really done a lot of great things for his career. There are so many examples of guys from that team. John L. Davis transfers to Arkansas and ends up having a chance with the Razorbacks, and they end up making a little bit of a run to the Sweet 16 last season. Those best players end up going because they receive opportunities. It's not just opportunities for coaches, it's opportunities for these players to be able to show that they can play very well against that high-level competition. And I think it's going to be harder for those teams to be able to make runs that become a little more familiar. But I do think, we'll see more of chalkier tournaments. Maybe not to the extreme we saw last year, but at the end of the day, Preston Thorne, if you look at KenPom and look at the top 20 teams in efficiency, I like to see what the gap between 1 and 20 is. And we've had a few years where that gap is less than 10 points per 100 possessions. 2017 was one of those. The year South Carolina went to the Final Four was one of those years where there was more parity in the sport in terms of just net rating from your top team to your 20th team. This year, that's about a difference about 13 points per 100 possessions, which is about average. There have been a couple of years where it was 16 in terms of the gap between 1 to 20. I think what just happens is maybe that variance doesn't always play out the way it has in years past. And I think this year is a really good guinea pig to see exactly whether or not that trend is going to start holding up.
Yeah, and obviously we'll get more information as we leave. But the last thing you were saying, Elijah, is that this idea of the opportunity creator, and as long as this tournament is an opportunity creator, you're going to have teams that are going to be coming up, whether that's through the coaches or whether through the players. It may be a slightly different motivation, not necessarily playing for your school, but if I'm playing for myself and this is an opportunity for me to make it to the bigs as a coach and as a player, you're going to see upsets still because there's still an inherent motivating factor for them. So I still think there is that idea that some of these smaller schools do have players who are highly motivated and coaches that are highly motivated to make an opportunity and make a name for themselves.
That was part 1 of the early game. Third and Long Hour Goes Deep. We will do part 2 tomorrow. But coming up next, it's time to give you our winners for today's show, brought to you the Golden Spur here on the Early Game.
Cannot win with them. Cannot coach with them. Can't do it. I want winners. 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 Winners.
And every day we give you our winners, brought to you by the Golden Spur and Preston Thorne. I mentioned earlier in the show when we were talking about the Tennessee-Georgia baseball game, where Tennessee thinks they have a go-ahead home run, and the guy who hit the ball is pimping it out. He's slamming the bat. He's yelling, into the dugout and all this type of stuff, only to find out that he was robbed of a home run. And Georgia ends up winning the game. It is a Swaggy P moment. So my golden winner of today's show, Nick Young. The guy was a walking meme on the basketball floor. And the image of him shooting a three, turning around with his hands out, like he just nailed the shot. Meanwhile, the ball's rimming out behind him.
Forever.
Lives in infamy. And that is the only great parallel I think you can use for that type of moment.
Forever one of the best memes to ever live. He's going to get a winner now, and he'll probably get it. They are who we thought they were later on in the week. But Paul Skeens, man,
ooh, buddy,
this dude goes out in the World Baseball Classic and pitches a gem. Goes out there and beats the Dominican Republic. What a fun game of baseball. Jen said she watched the beginning of it. I watched from the 5th inning on. It was electric the whole time. So much fun. But Paul Skeens, you are who we thought you were, and you're a winner.
Was the Mason Miller pitch to close the game out too low?
Listen, I like the human error in baseball. You probably shouldn't be taken if it's that close.
If it's that close, yeah. Philosophy. Just if it's that close,
I don't think it was a strike, but I think it's fine. I don't think that's not why they lost the game. And I think in the grand the way how baseball is such a poetic game, I think that's the one you have to swing at. But it was phenomenal watching that game.
The World Baseball Classics delivered. And you know what? I'm just glad Mark DeRosa knew that his team did indeed have to win that game.
Yeah. The USA baseball team have gotten themselves off the line, because I did put them on the line last week for losing to Italy, who, by the way, ended up being pretty good.
Ended up being really good. Espresso-fueled Italian team ends up being really, really good.
It's really cool to see the different teams. Of course, now they said that the United States team was just drinking milk, which is funny in and of itself. You had the Italian team drinking espresso. I think Cuba was drinking cafecito.
Yeah. That'll light you on fire, man.
So everybody's doing their own thing. Really enjoy it.
Oh, it's fantastic. I want to put another winner into kind of in the same vein of Swaggy P. I got to throw Leon Lett in there for a football alternative. Maybe the most infamous hot dog in it play that came back to bite him in the rear. Now, it didn't bite him in the rear the same way it did for Tennessee, because that was the last play of the game. Leon Lett fumbled, at the goal line in the Super Bowl, holding the ball out while Don Beebe strips it. And it was like a 31-point game at that point in time. But still, Leon Lett, also another poster boy for that. And for that, he is a winner. Another winner for today's show, Preston Thorne. John Calipari.
Yes.
In year 2 at Arkansas, he wins the SEC tournament championship. He's got a dude at point guard in Darius Acuff. Now, Malik Thomas also really good. He doesn't maybe get enough love, I feel like, because if it wasn't for Malik Thomas, they don't survive Ole Miss on Saturday. He had, I think, 27 points in that game. He was phenomenal in that game. That guy's a tough shot maker. But Darius Acuff is a legit top 10 pick in the NBA draft, maybe top 5, depending on who's picking in that order and who may need the services of Mr. Acuff. But the guy's a baller, SEC Player of the Year for a reason. And Kentucky, meanwhile, a turbulent season. Not many programs in all of college basketball can have 20-win seasons and consider their season turbulent. But for a team that spent as much as they did on the roster, being so eager to shoo John Calipari out of town, they had to watch him cut down some nets yesterday, and that could not have been a good feeling. It did feel like John Calipari got his lick back on Kentucky yesterday.
I guess I'll stay in the same vein. I called him a scoundrel earlier, and I think that's the only way best word to describe him. But Rick Pitino, winner. He wins a lot. He wins wherever he goes. He's an amazing basketball coach. Questionable morals, questionable ethics.
That's the way of putting it.
He's definitely not the guy that you necessarily want to follow in that terms, but somehow he manages to walk the tightrope of waiting for Elijah. I will continue. So the Rick Pitino wins at St. John's, and as I said earlier, there was a clip on social media where Rick Pitino's giving a halftime speech, and he's talking about how you're gonna have adversity face you in life, and you need to stand up to it, and you need to do all these things. And somebody quote tweeted it and said, "That's the kind of guy I want my son to play for." And I was like,
Timeout.
I was like, I don't know. Yes, he's a great basketball coach. We all know he's made a lot of questionable again, and he was talking about all the adversity that you'll face in life, and it's like, Rick, you did that to yourself, sir.
Your adversity was self-inflicted, sir.
Yes.
Last winner for me for today, team nicknames too, because on the Firehouse Subs text line, Jen, we had plenty of questions asking you whether or not the corn jerkers are dancing.
You know what? I need to take a look.
Between the Lancers, we have
corn jerkers versus the Orphans. What a match!
That would be quite the matchup.
Corn jerkers and orphans for all the marbles is the type of matchup that I personally would like to see. That is all we have for today's show. Thanks for listening to the early game. Tyler Head and Jack Veltri, they are next with the extra point. We'll see you again tomorrow, 6 a.m.